I would say.
Well, what'd you say? HE3, that roughly translate to help.
Help.
Because that's what we're kind of trying to do here. Help each other, help others.
We need help.
Yeah.
And by showing up weekly, we stay current
Yes.
with what's happening for us and potentially explore ideas and struggles and positivity that's sent to us from our following.
Right.
And we're building a following right now.
We are.
H37P. And speaking of that, we got a message
We got a message about what? Last week's show?
about last week's show.
Okay, good. Should I brace myself? Is it like a troll or is this, what is this?
Nope, no trolling. We have had plenty of those.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, people
We'll
send
get to those too.
people send things sometimes, and
Those are my favorite kind of messages.
I just tell them to go outside
Yeah.
and get some sun and walk around.
Give yourself a hug outside.
I get it. Go
Yeah.
outside. Walk to the blinds. Open them. Let some sun in.
First step,
Go
looking
outside.
out there.
Listen to this message.
Okay.
Hey, Chris. Thank you so much for doing this. This.
Oh, this?
Yes.
Okay.
I really love the back and forth between you and Brandon. Both of you guys have a high emotional intelligence.
Whoa.
Wow. Okay. And it was really beneficial for myself, and I'm sure many others. Hearing your thoughts, back and forth conversation. Appreciate you doing this. Hope you're doing well.
That's a great one. Did you write that?
I did
That's
not
an actual
write that.
message from somebody. So that actually gives me thinking about something here. So we have a high emotional intelligence. That's a huge compliment. And thank you to whoever wrote that message. Do you think emotional intelligence is something that you can build, something that you can kind of mine from within yourself and help create? Because, you don't, when you hear something like that, you have a high emotional intelligence, right? That's a big compliment. So is that something that you work for? Is it something you are born with and you just have to like develop? How does somebody get a higher emotional intelligence than maybe what they already have?
Yeah.
And what's the sign of that?
What's the sign of that? Yeah. Well, I think it's just like working out the physical.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like we have to, like, so if you're working on your body, you start slow and you're like, oh my God, I lifted these weights. Oh my, okay. So I'm feeling the benefits of it. And you start to learn that this exercise does this, and I'm feeling more free and more flexible, and I'm, more present in my body, and I can do more things in the world. So it's the same thing with emotional intelligence, and it's different for everybody. It kind of caters into how we're born into the world, right? Like if I was raised in a place where emotions were like not a priority.
Right.
So, I think everybody's born. If you see, I think we talked about this. If you see a baby, babies have high emotional intelligence. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if it's intelligence, but they're open.
Survival instinct.
Well, it's just like you could see a baby cycle through its emotions in like a minute.
Yeah,
All
that's
emotions.
true. That's true.
All
yeah.
emotions. They're
Yeah.
just like they're free. It's just like they want to connect. Isn't
Yeah.
that cool? Babies want to interact and connect. And I think what happens, it's not a bad thing. It's part of what we came into being a human being to experience, is coming in free. People believe in reincarnation. Some people believe in reincarnation. We're coming in with other stuff from past lives. I don't know. I believe that. And we come in, we're free, we're open. And then as the human organism, the physical body grows, that emotional intelligence generally gets smaller.
Right. A narrower focus as you start to get your beliefs. You start to maybe know right and wrong.
You get shut down a lot, kind of, too.
Yeah. Outside
Right.
forces.
Right. So it's like, and it's no fault to the caregivers, but it's like, kids are a lot, and parents, caregivers can't take it all on. So what happens, the human organism gets bigger and the emotional intelligence kind of gets a little smaller depending on the situation. Now, if you have amazing caregivers that support you in all of those emotions, I don't know about you, but when I was young, no one was ever like, are you angry, Brandon? Go ahead, be angry.
Yeah.
Like, feel that. Like, that would be the ideal situation in order to grow up and become naturally emotional. It would be like having a dad that surfs and is physical and teaching you about that. Obviously, you're going to be physically intelligent on what's happening. Most caregivers aren't really,
Right. Well, back in the day, it was, oh, you're mad? I'll give you something to be mad about.
Exactly.
Whatever you're mad about does not count.
Or
'Cause I will give you something to be mad about.
Exactly. Are you crying? Get the hell out of
I'll
here.
give you something to cry about.
Now, check this out. Why are caregivers that way? Because they don't have emotional intelligence happening for them. It's too much to feel. I love my dad. We've been through so much together. And humans are evolving too. Back then, my dad's dad was in World War II. You know what I mean? It was like, get up, go to work.
Well, it's amazing the generational shift.
Right.
Right? I think, and look, I could be wrong, but I feel like our generation is going to be better at parenting than our previous generation in certain ways. In other ways, no.
Right.
In the ways of discipline, probably not.
Right.
In the ways of providing and helping build emotional intelligence, of course. And finding that balance is going to be tough. So you talk about being born with it. You talk about exercising it.
Right.
What would be, I guess, the equivalent to doing a very simple exercise, push-ups? All right? Push-ups for your physical exercise. What would be a simple emotional intelligence building exercise that, probably something you're already doing all the time, but if you identify it, maybe you're going, oh, well, that's me flexing. That's me working on my emotional intelligence. What would be a push-up for your emotions?
Yeah, what a great question. I would say pausing.
Pausing.
Pause.
Okay.
So it's like, boom. The first thing is to pause and acknowledge that I am having a feeling.
Okay.
Right?
And that's good, bad, anger,
Whatever
sad.
it is.
Okay, yeah.
And let it come through. Now listen, that's the deal is that I was raised emotions are irrelevant. And just to pause and go, oh my God, I think I'm angry right now. And just breathe and let that, it's energy. Think about the word emotion. Energy in motion.
Okay.
That's all an emotion is. It's energy in our body. So when I get angry, I have a feeling and I'm like, I'm not used to that. I don't like it. So the last thing I want to do is pause.
Right.
You want
to run at it.
I want to run at it or run
Attack
away.
this feeling.
Or freeze or something's going to get in the way of it. So yeah, I'd say a push-up would be to pause, acknowledge that I have. So let's just use anger. I'm angry. I pause, I breathe, I'm angry. Generally, most emotions, we're going to want to make them about something outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
Scared, happy, whatever it is.
Something's happening at me or to me.
Yeah, we talked about that. So I pause and I go, okay, I'm angry. And then I realize I'm angry because of this thing outside of myself. And then I realize, wow, from the spiritual Ram Dassi that I'm not present. I'm taken out of the present moment. So if I'm just with my anger, the next thing I do is I say, this is my anger.
Okay, so the push-up is the pause. The
Own it.
ownership identification is that's a little bit more difficult. Maybe that's a sit-up or a pull-up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So not to go too much into it, but yeah, just to learn. I remember when I went to school and I would go to school for emotional intelligence, really psychotherapy or whatever. But the main thing it was teaching us is that, our emotion. Think about emotions. So our parents weren't really in their emotions, but back in the tribal days, it was almost everything. You had to be in touch with your intuition and emotions, because you're like, where are we going to go hunt? Is the lion coming to get me? Is the baby going to be born? Do I have to fight the other tribe? It was very emotional, right?
Right.
So yeah, these things are naturally happening inside of me. When I went to school, they were teaching us this, and I'll never forget. I would go to school and I'd come home and I would drive this van for guys to go do stuff for recovery and surf and stuff. And I was driving in this van. I would literally get done on Sunday night and have to be there at 6 on Monday, which usually should have a day to kind of process everything. But I was right into it. I remember driving in the van and I remember feeling this feeling of peace and bliss. And I was like, and I'd always thought it. I'd feel peaceful.
But you felt
it. And I just remember, and these tears started coming. And then I'm like, oh my God, there's sadness. It was not a bad sadness. And I just remember, I'll never forget. I'm like, I know what they're saying now.
That was your pause.
I have a body.
Right.
And there's things that happen in the body.
Yeah. I like that. So two simple things that we can all do to potentially build, develop increase our emotional intelligence.
Right.
The push-up is the pause. The pull-up is the
ownership
of it.
This is mine. And what happens if I don't know. My experience now is when I get angry, I'm not perfect at it at all. I often jump out and blame.
I'll work out.
Things. I got to work out, right? But what's cool about it is like, oh, what am I going to learn about myself?
Yeah.
What am I going to learn about myself here?
Yeah.
Right?
Even in a split second.
Just in a split second. Okay, this is about me, and then I just go, oh my gosh. And what happens over over time is that when I first start to feel the feeling, it's like it's uncomfortable, but then it's like, oh, that's just my anger.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right? And then, okay, you want to go like marathon, like last thing, just real quick, we can explore, but then reach out to somebody and tell them about your anger. There's something that happens in connecting with somebody in it, right? Hey, this happened. I felt angry. I don't need you to give me advice. I just want to tell you.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing about connecting with other people. To get support is you're allowed to tell them, I don't need your advice back.
Yeah.
Just listen to me.
Yeah.
Me and my bro David, when we call each other, I'm like, he'll call, I'll be like, I'm in it right now. And it means I need some support. And the first thing I ask is, do you want me to listen? Do you want feedback? What do you want? He's like,
Right.
"No, I just want you to listen today. I want, you know.
And that's something you can ask of your partner, your parents.
Yeah.
I mean, even your kids, I feel like.
Yeah. I don't know, but
You
tell
know?
me.
Yeah.
Because I don't have kids, but
Well, I've never tried it. But I'm just thinking about it.
yeah.
You know, I guess it's kind of like how, whatever ages, how much you want to share, all that stuff comes into play. But I like that. I
Yeah.
like that because, again, that is a simple thing you can ask of somebody. But I think if that is asked of you, it's definitely not simple. Because I think a lot of us have the propensity to want to, let me tell you.
Right.
And a lot of times it's like,
Yeah. Dude. Yeah.
but if you're told, hey, this is what will help me.
Yeah.
If you just listen, and you can change, after you talk, you can say,
No, I'm
okay,
ready.
you know what?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
And I think that's a good part about being an active listener, an active friend, an active, person that is there for others.
Right.
But also, on the flip side, because it can be uncomfortable to tell someone, hey, will you please just listen?
Just listen. I don't need.
You
I
know?
don't want your advice. And if I'm the guy just listening to, if I'm like, why do I feel like I need to give advice here? A lot of times it's because I don't want to be in their feeling with them. Like say you're like in this thing and you're uncomfortable. You're having a bad day. Like I just want to give you advice and make you better, so I don't have to be. So the hard thing is to be like, oh, that sounds hard.
Yeah.
That sounds difficult. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm in it.
Yeah.
I was sorry not to bring up school again, but I learned so much from these leaders at my school. I remember one time I was having the worst time. I was just so much stuff coming up and I was sitting against this wall. And I remember one of this guy, Rohei, he's recently passed away, but he was just a badass. He came walking over and I go, this motherfucker's gonna like try and tell me and he just looked at me. This is the most powerful healing I could ever have. And I looked and he goes, can I sit next to you? And I was like, yeah. And then he's just sat down. And I was like, he didn't say anything.
Right.
He just sat next to me. I get chills. And my whole, like well, you know what it was? It made me feel safe to go even further. The safety thing. And you talk about kids, when I work with kids, the first thing I do is like cuss. I say some cuss words.
Well, it does kind of build a trust thing,
Build a
right?
trust,
Like,
build
it's all
safety.
good. Like, well, this is.
I'm like, they like surfing or football or whatever. I get into that with them. And it's just like the safety. And like, then they'll start kind of going, yeah, my mom or dad. And I go, oh, that sounds difficult. And for the first time, it's someone's not telling them what they need to do about it.
Yeah.
Just like seeing them in that place.
Right.
Pretty powerful. Yeah, so emotional intelligence, thank you for whoever wrote that. But yeah, I think that it's the thing that the world needs right now. Because if you think about, there's so much conflict in the world, like, men against women and Palestine and Israel and all these things. And really, people are just hurt. They're in pain. And when people are in pain and they don't know how to deal with it, they want war and to project. So I think emotional intelligence could save the world. I'm in pain. I'm sad. I need help. And I want to talk about it.
Yeah. And I don't think that's superlative. I think obviously it's very simple
Yeah, well, I
in
don't think
theory, but it's huge.
I don't think it's superlative either, only because I don't know what that means.
That's a big word. I love using that word. Superlative is, like saying best ever,
Oh,
the
superlative.
goat,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
like last night's Bruce Springsteen concert was the best concert that's ever happened.
Oh my gosh.
And that's my segue into Bruce Springsteen.
Yes.
Because we do want to talk about joy and things that provide joy.
Yeah.
Because in the, previous episodes, and you just said at the beginning of the episode, somebody's going through it, somebody's angry, somebody's mad, sad, whatever. The first kind of simple thing you can do is walk out your door.
Right.
Climb out your window, climb down the fire, however you can do it, go outside, right?
Yes.
But to kind of take those things to the next level, right? And I'm not saying like if you're sad, a concert's going to fix you, but things like that, right? Shared joy. And there's different types of that. You and I usually go to concerts together.
Yeah.
And that's a different type of shared joy experience because you and I we are like one organism. We go to these big shows or small shows or whatever. But we went kind of double date separate.
Right.
We brought ladies.
Yes.
Which is something rare for us.
Right.
Because it's almost like concerts are, kind of like our sacred spot, right?
It's our thing. Yeah.
But I feel like even though we were seated in different areas,
Yeah.
there was a collective consciousness of joy
Yeah.
provided by the boss and the E Street Band. Let's not forget the E Street Band.
Right.
And I know this is probably has not much to do with therapy, with help, but really it is identifying things like a concert, like going surfing, playing golf, going jogging, whatever it is, identifying those things and almost using those things as rewards for yourself, places that you can let go, places that you can be in a group and all experience this type of joy.
100%.
Right?
100%. I mean, like, getting out, doing something. I mean, we stay consistent with it. We get out and we do it and we have a feeling. Now, listen, like I was thinking about that, and like if I was alone last night, there's something about sharing something with somebody too. Right?
Yeah.
Sharing that beautiful thing. If I was alone last night, it would have been cool. I wouldn't mind going to some concerts. I've gone alone before, but there's something really magical about getting together, doing, like you said, golf, surfing, even surfing. If I'm surfing by myself,
It's a different
every
type of
day,
session.
dude, and you're surfing with someone, it is just the connection. You're sharing in something powerful.
Yeah.
And Bruce was so awesome. There was these people in front of us. It was kind of like when we saw Elton John. I mean, when we saw Elton John, it was like a healing experience.
Yeah.
We were hugging. It's still, that part still lives in my heart. There's people next to us that had lost their like dad and husband, and they were connecting through the music. Last night I was watching this couple dancing, singing the song, and they would look at they would just look at each other and just sing the words. And
Were you looking at me?
No,
Are you talking about me?
no.
Because that's
Oh,
what I
God.
was doing too.
But you know what happened for me when I saw this couple doing it? I was like, this is how they don't connect like this outside of here.
Right.
There was this way where they just like were having this nostalgia. I can't say for sure they don't, but they were separate and they would just look at each other, and like it was this confirmation to fully connect, and it's super powerful. So
Yeah, and events like that. I mean, it could be anything. It could be a free concert at your local park.
Yeah.
It could be all the way up to the elite.
Right.
The Bruce Springsteens, the Eagles, the Steely Dans.
Right.
The Eltons.
Yes.
That's elite level, huge concert experience.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's music at anywhere you're at, and you can find it, and it doesn't always have to be great, but just the again, showing up.
Well, because my wife, she's in her last stages of pregnancy, and she's just at home. She's watching like Gossip Girl, and I'm just like, come, we're going to Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
She's like, really? Should I? I don't. Yeah. Okay. Well, what if I'm like, don't worry, if you need to leave. Anyways, we go there, and she's like, I'm so happy. I'm here right now. It
Yes.
just opened up so much for me that I'm so glad.
And your negative 2-month-old son just went to his first concert.
Right.
Now when he's 10 or 15, you got to sit him down and say, So
Oh.
you know what your first concert was.
I'm gonna say you owe me $500.
Yeah, and we need to split that ticket right now because I got it for your mom and me. And, you were kind of
He
helping.
was kicking. He was kicking
That's
in
so
there.
rad. All right. Okay. So that
Enough.
was something that provided. I think that's a fun, kind of maybe a fun little segment we can do
Right.
every episode. Something that provided us joy.
Yeah.
And
Well-
that other people have access to.
Well, then, and like, just not to go even further into it, but we're going to talk about you going to your first men's group. But before we went to the men's group, we both went surfing the best day ever, and we both almost didn't surf. You had already surfed that day. It was cloudy, and there we go. We get out, we connect.
Yeah.
It happens to do it. We go surf. We don't need to go into that too much, but you did go to your first men's group.
But remember how good I was surfing?
You were surfing so good.
Oh, yeah, I got video of it. I can show it to you. I'll show it to you after.
That's what I said. It was weird he didn't get any clips of me. He must be still editing those and clipping them together.
I think he's working on the color and just like
Right.
the overall aesthetic of what.
Well, it's kind of like it's like a surf video. You do all the other guys, and I'm like the Kelly Slater of that video.
Well, your
It'll come out
style
soon.
and maneuvers are so advanced, he probably didn't even know he's looking at it.
Totally.
So he had to take them in.
Right.
Yeah. So those magic moments do happen if you let them in. If you just, surrender to whatever, like I had work to do. I had stuff going on. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? My heart is telling me I need to go surf. And I didn't even talk to you. And I got in my car and I was like, I'm going. And then you texted me the second I sat down in my car.
Surf question
And
mark.
it just worked out. So that was an awesome moment for us. And we should just edit that out of the podcast because no, they need to hear it.
You need to hear
They
that.
need to hear about. So now that's two things that provided us joy. So the men's group. Yes. Okay. So I'll give a little backstory here. How long have you been doing men's groups and workshops and retreats?
I'd say almost 10 years.
Okay. So for 10 years, Brandon's been asking me to go to a workshop, a retreat, a men's group. The retreats, I've been like, oh, dude, I can't. 4 days, dude, I can't do it.
Got to pick up my mom at the airport. I'm like, for 4 days?
The workshop. Oh, that's how long? It's 6 hours. Oh, dude, I can't. I have actually on that day.
I'm making ice cubes.
No, I
that
have
day.
like 4 more pieces of this puzzle at my house. It's almost done. I got to
I literally just painted the fence out front, and I'm going to watch it dry.
look.
But have fun.
There's certain spots that are still kind of moist. But so and it was actually framed like I am working myself into Portal, doing some writing, doing this with you. So I would be a fraud if I didn't try to do everything that this company has to offer, right? And also, I think that a misnomer with, like men's groups, workshops, retreats is that you got to be struggling to get something
Right.
out of it, right? Like, oh, I'm struggling. I need this men's group. Well, I am doing great.
Yes.
I'm super happy, positive. Life is good, for lack of a better description. Life
Right.
is good, and I'm excited about every minute of every day.
Right.
So I was kind of going into, and then you guys invited me to the men's group, and we were going to film a little something, kind of like via my experience, right? To kind of try to explain, because I didn't like. You've been doing it 10 years.
Yeah.
You're my best friends.
Right.
You told me about them. Still didn't know what goes on in these men's groups.
Right.
And so for me, it was kind
Oh,
of like
well, let's just say, sorry for anyone out there, workshop.
men's and
Well,
women.
men's,
yeah,
women's,
it's-
co-ed, all
this
that.
just happened to be a
And men's. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
night, 2-3 hour
Yeah.
workshop.
Didn't mean to interrupt, but I think
Yeah,
that's
no, that's
important
true.
to
That's
say.
true.
Yeah.
Because there's more than just that.
Right.
So for me, it was, to be honest, I was, like doing it as a favor.
Right.
I was doing it as a favor and also doing it for experience, doing it to where I could more clearly describe and explain to other people
Right.
what these things are.
Right.
Had a slight idea of what it was going to be like, but it was really above and beyond kind of what I expected, because again, going into this group after having like the best day, it's like, again, things in life are going great,
Right.
and so I was kind of going in there to like, nobody's perfect, right? We can all be happier, we can all be more driven in our job, we can all gain from trying new things. And so to be in a setting where you've got people in the same kind of place as I am. Like, oh, this guy's stoked. He's here because he want, like,
Yeah.
And you've got people like in a life or death situation. It felt like,
Yeah.
and these are private stories within the group, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just, because I went to a couple AA meetings with someone, and, I was kind of already on my path to quitting drinking and all that. And so it was just a really cool, powerful, meaningful experience to be in a room where, people were sharing. And, in that case, I was kind of like, oh, wow, well, my problem is nothing compared to this, like,
Right.
and so I was kind of thinking that this workshop was going to be similar in that way, because you're going and you're sharing. It was, there was certain similarities, but I feel like the physicality of it, and, I guess activities that you do, I wasn't expecting some of these things. And, it's funny because I'm outgoing, like I'll do anything, you see me on stage,
Yeah.
like, in various acts or whatever, like I'll do whatever. But there was something uncomfortable about, just being in a room and like you're making eye contact and you're doing these things.
Yeah.
You're making noises, you're moving your body. And it took a minute to, I don't say let my guard down, because I'm not like guarded like that, but just to kind of like get over the initial, like, what am I? I'm walking around grunting and I'm yelling and I'm like, but like you get into it and, again, and you just kind of like
Yeah.
let it, you get into it, you let it get into you.
Exactly. Well, I want you to keep going, but like for anyone that is listening, the workshop, one of our main intentions, like we were talking about emotional intelligence, is to get us in our body and feeling, because we think so much. And a lot of the the things we'll do in the beginning, and like I frame it like we're going to do a bunch of small things that are maybe uncomfortable for an end outcome that's good. Like maybe you don't see it. Why am I walking around the room and I'll put on music and we'll move around and we'll cuss, and then I'll have people look at each other, and then, move the body. Why am I doing this right now? It's a small thing to get us in our body. Yeah, it is uncomfortable.
Well, it's, I feel like the moment I just trust the process is cliche, but I think in that case, it's like, there's nothing wrong with trusting the process. And, you're all in a like-minded kind of setting and group. And so it's not like at the end of it, someone's going to be like, dude, your moves were so dumb. What are you doing? Because everybody's doing dumb moves.
Yeah.
And everybody's trying.
Yeah.
And and I think that I'm definitely going again.
Yeah.
And I went into that going, sweet, if I just do this one, they'll get off my back and you won't ask me to go to anymore. But when I did it, I was like,
yeah,
I had a couple of different feelings, right? I kind of felt foolish. Like, why haven't I been doing this for 10 years?
Yes.
This is so rad.
Yeah.
And also like, excited about the next one.
Right. Here's a reframe on that.
Yeah.
Because you were so amazing in there. Okay. Now imagine if people were struggling and they went into a place and there wasn't people that were doing good. You're actually contributing to society by showing up, even if you're doing good, because you brought energy in, you brought hope in. Right. You brought hope, and you were vulnerable. You still shared about things that maybe you if there is a struggle, certain things you said that's like, but essentially you showed up in a place where you're already good. And there were guys in there that, like we said, life or death, we don't name any names, but that see you, like, you know what I mean? It's like, that's the whole thing. And to me, that is like one of the biggest reasons I'm so into doing work and showing up. And like, because I was the guy rolling in, super struggling. And imagine if there wasn't people like that were doing good there.
Yeah. So like, I guess everything sucks.
Yeah. So
why are we all here?
You're like, why are we all
like,
here?
well, that is happy.
Yeah,
Okay, so
totally.
Yeah.
And I'm in there and I'm doing pretty freaking good. I still have my struggles, but I'm in there to say, I'm like the dudes who were really struggling. The reason why they went so deep, I think, is because they believed that I've had that experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a level of trust. I get it. You know what I mean? I'm able to hold that for them. But so yeah, maybe that's the reframe.
Yeah.
I'm going to give.
Yeah.
And then, you've had struggles before too. So
I'm sure I will have struggles.
Yeah.
Any minute.
Yeah. It's like, for me, it's my refrigerator, I have to clean it.
Okay.
If I don't get in there, system. I'm the
Things
workshop
will go
is
rotten in the back corner, and you don't
Yeah.
really see them for a while until they're
like,
real
I'm
rotten.
just in here 3 hours once a month.
Yeah.
I'm in, you know.
Yeah, and it's not. This is not like a sales thing. This is a personal
Yeah.
experience about it. But I would recommend it to men, women, children. You know,
Yeah.
and I again, I think a big misnomer about these types of things is you can be doing great.
Right.
Your car can be running amazingly well, but you polish the wheels, you vacuum the inside, will refresh the oil,
Yeah,
some
exactly.
new washer fluid. These are little things that you can do to make your car run better. And I think the same thing is,
100%.
Yeah.
There's always some little thing, and there's always something that comes up for me. I learned so much. I learned so much about myself,
Yeah.
and connecting with other people and telling on ourselves. I mean, there's some powerful stuff that goes down in these workshops.
Absolutely. And do you think that? So, not obviously not everybody can come to Encinitas. Do you think that this is something that, I guess, franchise is not the right word, but is this something that in the future, via Portal, there will be some kind of guideline to where, let's say I'm a, guy or a gal, I'm in the East Coast, I'm in, Switzerland, Brazil, whatever. Will there be some kind of guide to, to where I could potentially, without going through years and years of training,
Yeah.
but is that something that's possible? Because I think that, to me, this thing should be happening all over.
Right. The big picture is to have a training program to kind of train people like the way that I was gone through. I work with people all over the world online too, so a lot of that stuff could be groups online.
Right,
and you
right.
go into like a little breakout room. So we're planning on that, and also Help. This podcast Help is a 501c3 nonprofit where we're gonna once Portal gets going and we start making money, we're gonna donate money into Help and also get funding, grants and whatnot, so we can fly people out here to do it. But yes, for the main, how you got so much, a lot of the group, not a lot, I say half of it, we're just talking and sharing. So even just doing online. So yes, Portal is going to be doing online connection community groups too that are highly beneficial.
Right.
And then, it's like you say, for me, I spent, a lot of my income going to these workshops. I was flying places going, and I would show up for these retreats. And so, yes, it will be available, and it's totally doable if it's made a priority for anybody out there.
We'll keep working at it.
Keep working at it.
That brings me to this podcast, which we've been coming up with our own questions for each other, but we have questions from the outside world, I believe. And I give you permission to put those glasses on because usually there's only one guy in the podcast that's allowed to wear glasses.
I was so embarrassed.
I think that my
glasses get dirty. Remember when we were at Wien and you told me to clean my glasses?
Yeah, I do.
Were you
remember that.
looking at them and they were totally...
Yes. So you've got a question from the outside world, and these are going to remain anonymous until they tell us, like, yeah, you can.
Yeah. So let's see what we get to. But this is a good one, just right out of the gates. This is an anonymous question. Okay? Did we say anything about people? This is really important. If you are listening out there, DM Portal EXP on Instagram or email portalexp.com and send us a question.
Is that an email? PortalEXP.
No, go to the website.
Oh, go to the
and
website.
On the
Okay,
website,
right.
you can click it. So you guys send us stuff because we want to talk about it. And if you're open to putting your name on it, great. If not.
Yeah.
And then the other thing we're going to do that's awesome is we're going to start zooming people in so that
Teleporting?
we can holograms.
Teleportation?
Yeah, totally. Jim Morrison's going to be.
Yeah,
with us
Jim
tonight.
Morrison's got a question about it.
Hologram. What would you ask Jim Morrison?
Oh, man.
Oh my God.
Jeez, that's a whole different podcast.
Tell us about your emotion. Okay, that's the other thing. Emotional intelligence. I mean, that guy was an emotional, not wreck.
Emotional
at all.
beast.
Beast, yeah. Okay,
He's
question.
a beast in the emotional world.
I say the doors are on my top
Question.
5. Okay. What should I do if I'm worried about a friend or a relative?
Oh, jeez. This is huge because I think that every single one of us, when you get it starts in your teens, and then as you get older and older, you realize more and more people who have addiction problems, who have mental illness, who have depression, who have anxiety, like, you know, all these things. You know, it's like when you're a kid, I had this one friend in grade school that just seemed really sad.
Yeah.
And then you get to be a grown up and you're like, half of my friends are depressed, anxiety, da 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 da. So this is a big question, and this is something that I actually dealt with you.
Oh, what? We're not
What? No,
what?
enough about you. No, you know what I mean? And I think
Let's talk about that.
we've all had this question, so I'm so happy that came through.
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with worrying about someone, right?
Yeah.
For lack of a better term, worrying about someone, and the steps
How do you
the
help
steps
them?
you can take. You've been on both sides in major ways,
Totally.
so I trust you implicitly with this.
If you're struggling, what would you want somebody? How would you want somebody to help you?
Well, usually
Maybe that's a good way to
usually
approach
when you're struggling, you don't know.
You don't know. Okay, great.
Yeah, right. And so you're like, what do you mean help? I don't need help. That's why an intervention is like a surprise party.
Well, yeah, and my mind's whirling. So so you're worried. So if somebody comes to me and they're like, I'm really worried about this. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
They think I'm so. I guess they're kind of right.
Well, we've been asked.
We've been asked.
You've been asked many times, like so and so drinks too much. So and so is
struggling,
partying
depressed.
too much.
Yeah. So the first thing.
First step,
if you are the person who is worried, is to ask yourself, am I doing the things in my life that I think this other person should be doing?
Oh, so the first step is inward step.
Yes, the first step is like, okay, where am I? Like so many times I work with people and the person who refers them to me really has the same kind of shit going on in other areas.
Right.
That person. Not all the time. So the first question, it's a real simple question.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm worried about my friend drinking this and that too much, or they're depressed, whatever. Well, are you depressed? No, not, well, kinda. Actually, I'm not happy. So that's the first, and that's an easy one, right?
Yeah.
Because, what happens there is we project my uncomfortability onto this. The first thing I want to know is, are you projecting your unprocessed stuff onto that person? It's pretty simple. Yes, no. So a lot of times, no.
Okay.
Cool. Next is, what feelings come up for you if you're the worrier by being worried about this person?
Right.
Are you scared? Are you angry? Are you frustrated? Are you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, then a lot of times like, oh yeah, I'm terrified.
Yeah, it's usually a mix of those things.
So again, you already said the first steps are to cover my own basis. Oh, so I'm terrified. Now, if I know if I'm like, well, I'm kind of scared, but I really just want to help.
I love my friend.
Then that's great. But a lot of times it's like, oh, I'm terrified. Yeah. Okay. Well, what are you afraid of? I'm afraid that they're going to freaking die. Okay. If they die, then we can work in that area. The reason I'm saying this is we want to become totally current with our own emotional intelligence so that we can actually help. If I come to help you and I'm scared or I'm mad at you because you're doing something wrong, that ain't going to do shit for you.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's two steps that are both not at the person they're into.
Is that too deep?
No.
Okay, cool. So you just check in with yourself.
Okay.
I'm scared.
Prepare yourself.
I'm this.
You're in the airplane.
Yeah.
You put the mask on first.
Right. Is there something that I'm getting from this person that I'm afraid of not getting anymore? So then the next thing is like, am I intertwined with business? Is it a family member where I'm getting something? Because then now I have a demand. Okay, so if something happens to you, I do this podcast with you. So say you go off the deep end and I'm doing this podcast with you, I have vested interest in you.
I need you to be good so you can come to work.
So you can come to work and do this. So that's going to fuck it up too,
yeah.
right? Because, so we clear all that stuff out. And then we get, I would say, support them in their painful place. Don't try and change it.
So I hear that, but I'm an example type of person. So let's just say I am extremely depressed. About life in general.
Yeah.
I'm just very depressed.
Yeah.
And it's affecting my life in a negative way, right? I'm isolating. I'm not talking to my friends.
Yeah.
I'm not surfing. I'm not playing music, whatever. I'm just depressed and it's like pulling me under. All
Yeah.
right. What do you, and I'm your friend, right? I'm not a family member. I'm just your friend. I'm a good friend. We trust each other. I'm in it, as you said. How do you support me in my depression?
I say that sounds really difficult,
Right.
and that sounds really sad.
Yeah.
I'm with you. And then, like, that's the first thing.
Right. That's the
So that
the
person
gateway.
goes, yeah, because, or the opposite of that would be like, dude, what do you mean, man?
What do you have to be
Everything's
depressed
great.
about,
No, everything's
bro?
great. It's just like, I get, that's me projecting onto you.
Yeah.
Right? So the first thing is meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
Okay, but there's something else that needs to be discussed here.
Okay.
Boundaries.
Okay.
A lot of times people don't want to change, and the people who want to help or are worried have trouble setting boundaries. So I have to ask myself here. So I'm going to say, that sounds difficult, Chris. Hard. Let's go get some coffee. Let's hang out. And then we meet up, and I'm like, tell me more. And you're like, well, this and this and this and this and this. And I'm like, God, that sounds rough,
Yeah.
So like, what are you going to do? I'm on,
Yeah.
what are you going to do? Well,
So simple yet.
so yeah, well,
Smart.
so what are you gonna do? Like, and what's happening in me is I'm uncomfortable. I'm like sitting here going, oh my God, my bro's here and he's struggling. I can't really help him. I want to say all these things. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I guess I just screw it all. I want to,
Yeah.
I don't know. I could do this. Cool. Well, okay. That sounds freaking hard. Well, do you want to do anything about it? Then
Right.
the next thing is curiosity.
Yeah.
Just curious, just questions. Would you want to do anything about it?
Yeah.
Do you? Yeah, I do. What have you thought about any? Like, are you open to?
You're kind of empowering the other person.
Yeah, are you
Right.
open to hearing some things? Like, do you want to come? Like, I'll go with you on these things, right? Like, maybe we go. So, have you ever done meditation? Like, maybe we do some meditation, we do some breath work. There's this group, So, what you're doing is you're bringing them. A lot of times, when the people we're worried about, they project a victim mentality. It's like I'm at the mercy of the world. So you try and empower, and like, hey, there are, and then I go, and then I say, I relate.
Yeah.
I relate. I say, I remember when this and this and this happened, and I was like, dude, the world is ending for me, and then I don't say what I did. I just say, yeah.
Yeah. I think, from what I'm gathering is keeping it simple.
Yeah.
Overcomplicating things is not going to necessarily help.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of stopping yourself from immediately giving advice.
Saving.
You're
advice.
almost just giving. It's like teach a man to fish. Whatever. It's like you're not
Exactly.
going. Here's a fish.
Yeah, totally.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Say, well, here's a pole
Yeah.
and maybe some bait. If you
100.
want me to hang out with you while you fish, I can. Or if you want me to bail, whatever.
I'll feel into it with you. The intention in my head that's going is I'll put in as much as you're willing to put in.
Right.
I'm not going to put in more.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the thing. What we're doing is we're creating safety. We're meeting them where they're at. And then what happens? So if you're out there and you wrote this question, I would venture to guess that you've been worried about somebody, they're not willing to do anything about it, and you think you want to save them. The next step, okay, so if that person goes, thanks for hanging out with me, and like I'm starting to do things, thanks for hearing me, I'm making it through, it's great. So the worry part is on me. It's just like, can I be present with this person?
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's hard to be present with someone that's struggling.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're like, I want to go surf, I want to go do I don't want to go sit with that fucking person.
Yeah.
So are you willing to do that? That's how that would be the way to do it. And then to empower them to get support.
Yeah.
There's therapists, there's groups, all that stuff. Now, what generally happens for people who are worried is they just really suck at boundaries.
Yeah.
And this person, they come
What can
in-
I do? Let me
Yeah.
help you. What can I do?
Yeah. And so here's something really cool about boundaries is that if you're worried about somebody and they don't want to change their life and you keep getting in it with them and you're stuck and you're thinking about them and all these things are happening. If you don't set a boundary with them, you're actually hurting them.
In what way?
Well, so you're struggling now and now it's 3 weeks in and you're saying the same shit. this example, right?
Yeah.
You're struggling. I'm here. I already came and hung out with you, and I'm like, bro, here's a tool bag of things.
Yeah.
And you don't use them. And then you call me again, and you're like, bro, can I borrow some? Can you come over? And it's just like at some point, I'm like, dude, you know what? I love you, but I got to take care of myself in this because I really love you, and it's painful for me to see you doing this.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to cut off connection and love you from afar. Now, what's that gonna do for you?
That's hard.
That's hard to do, but you know what it's gonna do? You're gonna be like, maybe I'll pick up a tool.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do it. Now, from my lens, the guy who sets the boundary, I'm taking a risk because you could kill yourself. You could hurt yourself, go further into your addiction. But I'm not, you're already doing that anyways.
Yeah.
You're already doing
True.
that.
Yes.
You're committing suicide on the installment plan. You're just completely going further and further. Now, we're using a drastic situation, but I think this question really fosters to that or speaks to that. So now, if I don't set a boundary, I'm keeping you from feeling something you need to feel. Now you really are having some feelings where you're like, this motherfucker showed up for me, sat with me, gave me tools, and now he's taking care of himself. I'm going to feel like double pain on it.
Well, it's also leading by example, which is underrated.
It's underrated.
You can leading by example. I think is huge because it's not always super noticeable.
Right.
Until you think about it, you're like, oh, well, like I don't think I'm the greatest skateboarder in the world, but I'm 47 and I still skate, and I put myself skating on Instagram, and some people probably think it's vanity and think like, oh, I'm cool, I can still do a kickflip, but really, why I do it is because I want to inspire other people my age or any age to go skate,
and it's your higher self,
and it's like I feel like. It's kind of the same thing, right? With a mental health thing. Like if you're out there doing the work, if you're showing your friends and family that there are these things you can do to exercise your emotional intelligence, to do things to just better yourself physically, mentally, in general. Leading by example, it won't always catch on. It's not like a surefire method, but I think a lot of times over time, leading by example, you get inspired, even by the little things.
Well, we're coming full circle because look, if I can't set a boundary with you after showing up for you, it's just as challenging for me to set a boundary as the things I'm laying out in front of you.
Is that codependency?
Yeah, total codependency. And codependency means that I'm not okay unless you're okay.
Yeah.
Essentially. So also, if I don't set a boundary with you, I'm not growing either.
Yeah.
Because one of the I'm sure whoever would write this question is codependent and has trouble with setting boundaries and codependency, which the essence of codependency is a big, open, loving heart.
Right.
But it gets distorted. It's I find my goodness if you're doing good.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing good, then it certifies my shame as being a bad person.
Yeah.
Is that too deep?
It reminds me of the kind of like happy wife, happy life
Exactly.
thing, which can go any which way, of course, but I really have found that if you're happy,
yeah,
and you're projecting your happiness in a good way,
right,
just like I'm happy,
yeah,
because I think a lot of times people feel bad about being happy,
right,
people feel how's your day going? So good.
Well, you just said it was skateboarding. It's called shame of the higher self.
Shame of the higher self.
Yeah, it's a thing.
That should be an album title.
You. I've seen your Instagram every day. You go out there. You're skateboarding around. You're bringing love. You're just in your. It's called the higher self. It's not an ego place. You're not compensating for anything by posting your videos of the skateboarding.
Right.
You might kind of think that, but it's an expression of your higher self. Okay, so remember when you're young and you do something good and you feel uncomfortable about it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's called shame of the higher self. It's like, little kids start, like, teenagers start singing and they're like turning red and they sound beautiful. How is it you're just singing this beautiful thing and you're completely terrified?
Yeah.
That's called shame of the
Well,
higher
and
self.
how does, a lot, I think a lot of times I do this a lot. There's guilt for achieving or guilt for living well.
Yeah.
Not in like a financial sense or whatever, but, and this happened to me many times. Someone goes, so I do commentary for events and stuff, and somebody goes, wow, dude, your job's really cool. Like, where are you off to next?
Right.
And then sometimes I'm so excited. I'm going to Tahiti. I love this event. It's going to be so sick. Da, 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 da. And then you catch yourself and you go, am I bragging? And then you go, I mean, but I don't get to surf that much. And it's, it's long days. So it's almost like you back up, like you back up all this positive stuff where, you can see the person you're telling, they switch too. Because when you're stoked and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, so I got this new opportunity and it's going to be super rad, da da da. That person kind of will light up a little bit. And I think the fear is that you're bragging, you're gloating, you're rubbing it in.
That's
depending on who's asking you. And so you back it up, back tag it. I can't wait to go to this job in Hawaii. It's going to be so sick. It is a long flight though, and it's kind of,
I totally relate.
End it when you say, I can't wait. I'm so excited. How are you?
Right.
I mean, you don't even have to say, how are you? Be stoked for what you're doing.
Well, it's like, there's so many, that's such a great
And it's
point.
really hard to do. Trust me. 80% of the time.
Yeah.
Can't
Well,
wait for this gig.
What would
It is-
happen
it's
if
gonna
you
be-
just told the truth?
Yeah.
And just said, fuck yeah, I'm going to Tahiti. I worked my ass off to get myself to this place.
Yeah, why bring
Because
down your level of excitement?
Well, because if this person has feelings, it makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, if they're like,
You don't want
"I'm going to
conflict.
Tahiti.
You're like, oh, Chris, they're going to come harder.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And be like, oh, I wish you the best on that. Really, it sounds lame. But when I've experienced that, and I just go, well, I don't know if I really want that kind of energy in my life.
Right.
I don't want that kind of thing. So I'm just going to speak the truth. Like, yeah, frick it. It's awesome. Everything's going, like, I'm going to Tahiti. And then
good.
I would even be like, I'm curious. A good question to be like, I'm curious. Does my good life bring up some stuff for you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and yeah, is that egotistical or bragging? If it's the truth, no.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Now, here's the thing. If I'm compensating, like, okay, so if we have this rad podcast and no one really knows about it, and I feel, which is kind of true.
We do.
Well, we do have this. Okay, so we have a rad podcast. No one really knows about it, and I'm kind of like irked on the inside that this is so cool and it's just starting and it's small, and I'm out going, dude, we got this freaking rad podcast. It's like super awesome. And then I'm compensating for a low self-worth inside of me. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's like I can say, yeah, I can be like, you know what, we have this podcast that's good, and I'm kind of stressed because it's like I want it to get out in the world. That's the truth too.
Yeah.
If somebody tells me, oh, you and Cote just out there on a Monday or Tuesday, you must be having a really good life, I'd be like, yeah, it is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. But also I am a little, I have low self-worth things too. You know what I mean? It's just the truth. And again, if we're not telling the truth in order to keep people from having feelings, we're not helping them.
Yeah. It's true.
You know what I'm saying? Because I love people that will tell me just the direct truth because I feel safe with them, and I build the safety that I'm going to get the truth from them. You know?
Yeah.
So
I like that. Well, I just looked at my phone, not to check Instagram or see how many people have put hearts on my skateboarding videos, because I think that delivering this in a timely fashion, not eating too much of people's time.
I think this is a good place. This is great.
You want to put a bow on it? You want to wrap it up in a beautiful little bow?
Yeah, I don't want to keep going, and like we could talk forever on stuff, but let's just chop it up.
So we gave
chopping it
multiple steps there, multiple little segments of steps, which I'm actually going to go back and listen to because I could definitely use some things. Oh, you got a new shirt.
Yeah. It says Portal.
You designed that.
Well,
you didn't draw it, but
no.
you designed it. You picked it.
I picked it and kind of said,
What's
I
it
like
mean?
these things. Well, it means,
It looks like a cool album cover.
I don't know. It's like when I see this kind of stuff, I something inside of me happens.
Right.
You ever see last thing. You ever see like a picture of the universe with all those beautiful colors and all that stuff?
Yeah.
When I see that stuff, I feel something deep inside of myself.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I wear a large, so
what a horrible way to end.
I'll take that.
Okay.
Is that a large? You're such a giver. You're such a giving guy. Give me that shirt. After the podcast.
Next week, I don't know how this works, but we have Koa Smith coming here, so
What?
it'll be fun.
Celebrity guests?
Me, you,
A misfit
Koa. I
of
think Sarah's
consciousness?
coming on. Yeah.
Well, again, just like we're figuring out all these things about ourselves and trying to help other people and talking and brainstorming and doing all those things, we're also still learning how to do this show.
That's right.
So
Totally.
welcome. Learn with us. It might get better. It might get worse.
Send us your questions. And if you want to be zoomed in and you want to like work through something, then just message us.
Yeah. Sweet.
H37P ! But contact us at Portal Instagram, send us a DM, or portalexp.com. Peace out.